Good afternoon, Lucas. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I am John Davison, the founder and CTO of Startup Landia. In session with me is Lucas. Will I pronounce this correctly? Draishi?
Yeah, Traishi.
Draishi. I put on my Portuguese hat or my Brazilian hat when I pronounced that.
Yeah.
Lucas, where are you calling in from today?
I'm from São Paulo, Brazil.
Is that where you're
Happy to
calling
be
in
here.
from?
Yeah,
Um, and can you describe your role with the Startup Landia crew a bit?
yeah. I am a AI engineer. Uh, I'm doing full stack development here with a real nice project called Skillify, and happy to be here.
Have you enjoyed the last 5 or 6 months with the crew?
Yeah,
No
a
pressure,
lot.
you're on camera. Which because we believe in the power of LLMs, but we're uncertain what they're good at, and we're also uncertain if 100% synthetic code is a place that a business wants to be. I would say that ideologically, I feel somewhat certain that if you can reduce the cost of a product by 80% or 90% and the quality drops by 30%, capitalists will be more interested in the price drop than the quality drop. And so, no matter what we think about is synthetic code the right thing to be using, the markets won't care. And synthetic code's role in the future is going to be huge. And, you might end up getting very glitchy versions of the things that you build that are very unstable, but the markets won't care because they're just always searching for things of lower cost. And that's just the nature of capitalist economics. But I want to understand our own values in relation to synthetic code, where we use it, how we use it, and in this session, we are going to build, hopefully, a thing. And you can see on the left side of my screen, I have a gist that I wrote. And for everybody in the audience, which is basically nobody, but hopefully somebody, I'll just quickly read through my problem. If a project stakeholder posts a Slack message in an asynchronous manner, Tuesday at 4:20 p.m. or 4:15 p.m., whenever I'm out, taking care of my kids, um, the message might contain, "Hey, I have problem X," or "I observed problem Y. Please, JD, ticket this, and here's the potential solution." And so as the days go by, I might not necessarily check in on Slack for like if I have a Wednesday morning stand up, I might not check Slack again to do ticketing until Thursday afternoon. But like if five sort of requests have been posted, then I have to sift through Slack's noise to sort of figure out what was posted. And that can be very difficult and error prone. And so what I'm suggesting is a system that is LLM based where every 15 minutes or so, we look at all the Slack messages in a channel and we check to see if any messages have language like, "Hey, can you do this ticket?" or "Can you do this thing?" And in the case that the LLM can determine that that language was triggered, we basically get the engine to file a ticket in GitHub based on the thread of the stakeholder and then post the link to the ticket back in the conversation so that the stakeholder knows immediately, "Hey, somebody ticketed this for work." They can either move on with what they were doing or they can go review the ticket to make sure, it got all the P's and Q's crossed. But I feel like there's a lot of administrative overhead in paying attention to the feed and understanding, when can or when do we need to ticket something. And so I'm looking to reduce my labor burden and increase the accuracy of because we might actually be missing times when a stakeholder said, "Oh, I need this done." We might miss it and the stakeholder might forget, and then we just basically missed an opportunity to improve something. Um, so some examples of stakeholders requesting things to be done. Can you please change the link for this, or can you do X? Let's ticket an epic to discuss later, please. So on and so forth. And look, there's little typos and stuff in there because it's markdown, it's formatting. You know, the LLMs are really good at interpreting the intention and ignoring the syntax, something that traditional computer programs were terrible at. And then I've written some constraints. I want to use Ruby Sinatra. I want to use the Slack Ruby gem, use Fireworks API, assuming I have these environmental variables, assume some other environmental variables, assume we use Fireworks, yada, 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 yada. And finally, never display the contents of my environmental file on screen. I tried this a week ago, and the AI coding agent kept showing off all my API keys to the audience, which is not cool. Bonus, build a web page that lists all the previous threads flagged for true that needs tickets in a table with the ticket status alongside. And so basically, we're going to use AIDER. And I'm gonna, can you see my screen, Lucas?
Yeah.
I know this is a lot to look at once. I'm just going to initiate AIDER. I am here in an empty directory. AIDER also likes Git, so I'm going to git init this. It helps um, Git. I'm not going to commit that. I'm not going to do anything else. As long as AIDER has a Git tracking enabled, it's good to go. So anyways, I'm just going to run AIDER. I don't remember what my basic commands are. AIDER is a very interesting LLM-centric, a console-centric LLM programming tool. So it's asking for an upgrade strategy only if needed, AIDER chat. I've ignored this the past few times. I'll install it real quick. I hope that doesn't destroy the value of our session because you never know when you install new stuff. It might break everything. Okay, cool. So AIDER, you can skip this check add.aider.env to get ignore recommended. Yes. Added aider to .env to .get ignore. Perfect. So I think somewhere else I have correctly configured aider to use two different models, Claude 3.7 and Claude 3.5 Haiku. I don't remember why I did that. It was probably some configurations I got off Aider's website. I think one of the things that's going to be very interesting for developers going forward, especially developers that come out of the Rails world, is that Rails has a convention called convention over configuration. And that means that generally speaking, most of the tools that you use, you want to use them configured the way they come to you. And as the sort of Rails sort of social contract, they're saying, the Rails maintainers and the Ruby community in general is saying, we have done this thing so many times that we know what is canonical and we have excellent conventions. And if you accept our conventions, you'll go a lot faster because you won't be spending time configuring things on your own. And I think that what we're going to find with a lot of AI engineering is that the opposite is true, that you're going to end up spending more time configuring, and convention becomes a byproduct of the fact that like the underlying LLM has seen 1 million or 2 million or 5 million or however many million examples of whatever it is we want done. And it's always going to basically show us the average of whatever it has seen, because that's kind of how LLMs work, right? It just like takes everything it's looked at and then it produces the sort of middle of the road average.
Yeah.
So engineers will have to spend more time on configuration and less time thinking about convention. And that'll be a sort of a something we'll have to train ourselves. So it's asking me, would you like to see what's new in this version? I'm going to say no, because I don't care. It should just work. Okay, so now basically I'm going to say, hey, Aider, I would like to build the contents of this gist file. going to ask me if I want to add the URL to the chat. Let's make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to say yes. Also, I think another thing that will be new for engineers in AI coding is that you have to spend a lot more time sort of preparing what you want to build. Right now, AIDER is showing me more or less what it would like to implement. You can see here, it's like search and replace formatting. The top line search, it didn't find anything because it's an empty code base. Everything after the equals delimiters means that we're going to basically replace empty with all of this stuff. Also, I will comment while we're looking at AIDER stuff. Part of this idea of can AIs write all the code? Should we be getting rid of all of our engineers in favor of AI, or should non-engineers be sort of learning to code, or what even it means to be an engineer anymore? Um, I my general principle is that I don't think it's possible to really run complex applications without understanding how web software works in general. Whether or not you have to be great at knowing the syntax of every language, I think is debatable. But like you generally speaking have to understand how a relational database works and how HTTP works and how CSS works. I don't think there's any way to really be effective without knowing those things. And maybe AIDER means we get to focus more on concepts and less on remembering syntax, right? Which I think is a good thing. And this comes back to, are we looking at a cooperative future or a replacing future? And I'm training myself for a cooperative future. Um, Anyways, I'm just rambling because that is what I do when we're recording. Um, it's shown me a bunch of stuff. Thank God it didn't show me my own end file, so I don't have to clean out the credentials. Here's a gem file. Here's a bunch of stuff. Uh, Here's a bunch of more stuff. So I'm going to say create new file. Yes. Slack monitor. Yes. Ticket creator. Yes. LLM service. Yes. Index.erb. Yes. Config.ru. Config, like, how could a non-engineer know what config.ru was, right? Like, sure, you could ask Claude. In fact, let's hopefully bring Claude on screen, and there's nothing too weird in my history. Here, I'll clear it out real quick. And what is config.ru, right? If you're not an engineer, you're just not going to know these things. And the moment you start Googling for what is config.ru, in my opinion, you've become an engineer. So maybe like cooking, the barrier to being a programmer has gotten lower. But as I went to a full stack coding boot camp, the mantra was always that coding is the new literacy. And so if the barrier to being an engineer just got lower, and coding is the new literacy, so anybody can read, anybody can cook. And basically, to be healthy, everybody has to read. And for the most part, everybody has to cook some if you want to be super healthy. So again, are we replacing or are we improving and augmenting? And anyways, this definition is pretty good. This is what I know what config.ru is, blah, blah, blah. Let's take Claude off screen and go back to AIDER, config.ru. Gem file, yes. .env, we don't need that. Git ignore. Allow edits to file that has not been added to the chat. Git ignore, sure. Okay, so now it's asking, AIDER is asking me if I want to run bundle install and copy.env.example. And I'm actually going to say no, because I don't like AIDER to run shell commands. No. You can do undo to undo and discard each AIDER commit. So basically now AIDER is showing us all the files that AIDER has access to. Basically this stuff, all AIDER just wrote. And I'm going to open another console, another tab, and I'm going to maximize that so we can see it. And I'm going to show the directory structure. So AIDER added some meta files for controlling itself. The environmental file was already there, and now here's our application. So let's go in and quickly look at our application.rb, right? Requiring a bunch of stuff, a logger, some configurations. If you remember correctly in the gist, I told AIDER the names of the environmental keys, or the environmental variables that it had available to it. So that stuff should all be good. Let's quickly scan through LLM service. This looks like code I would generally speaking write. Um, and interestingly, as a CTO, I don't get to write a lot of code anymore. So mostly I'm reviewing code and calling out errors and running pull requests to understand if the UX is spot on yet. So like my goal is always just like a smooth UX, which is a little bit different from being an IC. Although I need to be capable of running code and understanding if there's a problem structurally. Here's our Slack monitor. It's going to pay attention to the channel, so on and so forth. And here's our ticket creator and a view, index.rb, auto ticketing system. No tickets have been created. Check, check at tickets. Where do we defining tickets at tickets? No, it's interesting. NVim didn't like my search. Uh, Whatever. Oh, by the way, Lucas, did you know that MVim is built because of Brazilians built NVim, NeoVim?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's written in Lua script, which, if I looked up correctly, was a scripting language developed by some Brazilians that were working for like a offshore oil company and needed a lightweight tool to do stuff. And honestly, NeoVim is like 100 times more user friendly than NVim. Not that any of these are particularly user friendly.
That's cool.
Anyways, so I'm going to title this app. I'm going to title this one app, and I'm going to title this one AIDER. I'm titling my consoles so that they're easy to look at. And I'm going to
Okay.
increase the font size of this far one, and I'm going to call this one CLI so that we kind of remember what we're doing in what tab. And so since I didn't let AIDER run the shell commands, I'm going to run them myself. Okay, that's great. Everything installed correctly. I'm not going to copy the env example to .env because I've already set that up. And so now AIDER is like, hey, run your code. And for anyone wondering if they should run this code, let's just ask Claude, uh, is it safe to run this code, right? Let's hide my chat history. My search history. Is it safe to run this code? I'm going to use the backtick so that it looks like nice, properly formatted code. Okay, that's a good answer. If I wasn't using AIDER to write code, I'm almost always using Claude as my pair program. It's incredibly useful. So we're going to go into our console and just run bundle exec rack up. Oh, boom. Bundle exec. Can't find executable rack up for gem rack up. Rack up is not currently included in the bundle. Perhaps you meant to add it to the gem file. Actually, I think I've tried to build this with AIDER before and it had the same problem last time. So yeah, that is an interesting, weird problem. I'm going to tell AIDER that we just saw the error. I tried to run, I I ran I ran the bundle exec rack up command and received this error. Paste. What is the problem? And since I'm a developer, I already know with what is the problem with the gem file or other. Maybe it's not the gem file actually.
And these kind of issues when vibe coding are pretty common, pretty normal to happen, right?
Yeah. And I think this gets into, I try to really focus people on this idea that machines are incredible at volume and speed and scale. They're always not great at noticing sort of situation. And so one of the roles that humans going to always play is that we're great at noticing situation. And in fact, there's a book, God, I can't remember. It's something about the human body, and it talks about human advantages. We didn't get strength or speed. What we got was the ability to carry objects and to look around, right? Like most animals can't like look a different direction than they're walking and carrying things. So we have an incredible ability to sort of navigate in misdirected space. And navigating in misdirected space is a the service we provide to the machines, right? Like the machines can't do very much without that.
Yeah.
So let's just quickly look at the search it found in the gem file. It's like, hey, just need to add rack up to the gem file. It's interesting, really, that an LLM could generate so much useful code and make this tiny little mistake in the gem file, right? Like,
Yeah.
anyways, I'm not gonna run the shell command. I'm gonna say actually don't ask again for shell commands, right? I just don't like running shell commands. Well, why would it ask don't ask again? Okay, so it added rack up, there you go, to the gem file. And let's look at the commit history, right? Added rack up gem to gem file. And I think that there you go. Git show even shows us the diff. And I honestly, Lucas, I feel like these search and replaces are really hard to look at. It would be way smarter if we got like a GitHub style side by side left and right diff in the on screen. It would be way more efficient to look at.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but whatever. It's a free tool. It's like DHH says, just because you get the GIF train doesn't mean you're entitled to dictate how the GIF train behaves, right? I'm
Yeah.
sure AIDER would be happy if we went and actually edited things so that we could get the UI experience we want. Fun fact, while we're here, I was reading on the AIDER blog. AIDER originally was like 10 or 20% written by AIDER. The AIDER code base is now like 70 or 80% written by AIDER itself, which is
Wow.
mind-boggling when you think about
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
building itself.
hmm Um, I mean, imagine if like an AI can connects to your house and you have like a smart network and the AI just starts executing commands on your smart network. I mean, it's quite sketchy actually.
It is.
Bundle exec rack up dash P. What does the dash P mean, Lucas? And if you don't get this answer correct, you're fully off the team.
Oh, let me see.
No pressure.
It's the port.
The port, like a port to the open ocean. Are we gonna go on a cruise? We getting some palm trees and stuff?
Sort of, but no.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Sort of. It's like a port in abstract world. It's a place to connect to the computer. Whatever. Just move on, John. All right. So this is good. This at least means that our system didn't crash. Let's go
Yeah.
to run check now. Check completed, found 0 threads needing tickets.
Cool.
Okay. So if um if 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 I'm going to add you to the channel, Lucas,
Okay.
I want you to um hmm, let's hide everything. Hide everything. Make it as hidden as possible so that I don't inadvertently show off any special project information. Did you just get the notification that you're in the channel now, Lucas?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead and ask me to do something that kind of involves, um, I don't know, creating a ticket. It can be for anything.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Just a second.
That's a ridiculous ask.
Yeah, that's not even a feature.
Let's, for anyone on session, and by anyone, I mean hopefully at least one person, Lucas has asked me to create a ticket to give him a raise, right? I mean, man, if I had that much money, you think I would be recording nerdy AI programming videos on a Friday at 2?
Uh, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. In fact, I really like what I do, so I'm gonna I'm gonna say, hmm. So it's interesting, there's no real buttons here. So like it's
Found
doing
one thing.
something. Error missing scope.
Mm. But if you look to
Uh,
the logs, you see something happened there. It found one thread needing tickets.
yep. You're doing check missing scope. Oh, I know what this is. So it probably attempted to create the issue. Um, I'm going to paste this GitHub link. Like again, if you are not a trained developer in some capacity, reading logs is really hard to do, right? And like, I don't know how you can work with the internet and not know how to read logs. So all I'm doing is looking at the weblog and understanding that this is an error, right? It seems easy when I call it out, but like to the beginner or to the non-engineer, and they believe that all this console is just gibberish, that it doesn't mean anything. But in fact, becoming an engineer is like every single line, every single character, everything means something. And again, I'm not trying to say you have to be an engineer or you don't have to be an engineer. Maybe it's just that the nature of becoming an engineer is just getting a lot looser. Let's go see if this created a ticket. Okay, boom. So that created a ticket. This ticket is created to request a feature to give Lucas a raise. The problem is that Lucas is currently not receiving the, oh my God, who added all this extra information? I mean, talk about LLMs out of control. The requested solution is to implement a feature that will provide Lucas with a raise. There is no additional context provided for this request. And it was correctly labeled, auto created from Slack. So where did the error check? Error during check missing scope. So let's tell AIDER it's doing a pretty decent job. And I'm also just going to go back to the root of our application. Give. I'm curious if it didn't build a persistence system. So how does it remember all this stuff? What happens if I cancel and restart? Will it still remember? I don't know how it's persisting. Oh, but look,
Created
We
another
get the
one.
same, we got the same error during scheduled check missing scope.
Maybe it's trying to send a message on Slack saying, "Hey, I just created this ticket, but it doesn't have the scope for that."
That's right. That's sounds pretty good. Error during scheduled check, missing scope. I think Lucas has a definitely good intuition about that. And at Startuplandia, we are all about intuition. Um, so the creation of ticketing to GitHub seems to have worked pretty well. I stopped. We saw, then we saw the error. Let's paste the first error message. And I'm going to put this in quotes to be nice. I stopped the server. I restarted the server, right? Machines are into brevity. El
Yeah.
Deuterino, L. J. Lebowski. Do you even have a job? Is that how you go out looking for work? I restarted the app and saw my colleague, which I always have a hard time spelling, thinks that we are missing a scope for writing tickets back to the message thread in Slack. What do you think? You're right. So scopes required for this app: channels history, chat right, groups history for private channels. I don't think I requested chat right.
Okay.
Um, and then I don't fully understand post ticket confirmation. So it's added a little bit of error handling. It's asking for a README, which I don't care about. Um, I don't care about oh, this is all part of the README. Oh, okay, that's okay. Create new file, readme.md. So it's weird to me that AIDER is like create new file, and it's both an update and a new creation. So it's a little bit difficult for me to understand what I'm telling AIDER it can do. But anyway, since I generally agree with all this stuff, I'm going to give it the big yes. Yeah, it apply to edit, apply to edit, apply to edit, right? And now we have all that stuff, including the README added to AIDER. It's amazing how much better I'm getting at understanding AIDER just by using it like once a week for an hour. Which to the viewers is just like programming. You can't study programming and then know how to do it. You have to actually do it. And the more you do it, the easier it will get. And to Lucas's, Mr. Draishi's point, it will get a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Um, so let's go here and check that we got our error handling. Uh, begin, create ticket from thread, initialize. Slack monitor, message needs ticket, get thread, post ticket confirmation. There we go. There's our stuff. There's our error handling. And let's just quickly glance at the README. Yeah, that's all good. Again, something that the viewers wouldn't understand is that when you're running a Sinatra app, you have to restart the server for changes to take place. And so We would expect a little bit more, I don't know, better error messages. Yeah, missing Slack scope, missing scope. Please add the following scopes to your Slack app. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I don't really like writing error handling. And so if you're like, hey, AIDER from now on is in charge of um, error handling, like this right here is probably better error handling than I've ever written.
Yeah.
And it comes back to humans are lazy. Well, not entirely lazy, but this is a lot of keystrokes, right? To manually write every single keystroke is annoying, even if you know what should be written. So like AIDER, big, huge A plus effort right there. Um, Let me see if I can off screen without showing off my Slack credentials. Let me see if I can quickly, uh, well, if
Okay,
I
you're
can,
safe.
well, I mean, I haven't done my work yet. I got the browser off screen because I'm not totally stupid, but we haven't, um, preferences, tools, admin tools, maybe, workspace settings, apps and workflows. Yeah, so now I'm on the web. I have auto ticket. What will so I'm going to quickly, yeah, I'm going to quickly, let's ask Claude, hey, with these Slack scopes, can I post a message into a thread? Hmm.
You cannot post message.
Okay, so I need to add chat right, app details, installed app, steps, app details, auto ticket, open in Slack, installed apps. I don't think where, what is the URL for my app to change the scopes in Slack? Oh, that's what we want. I went to my workspace, which isn't exactly where I want to be. Okay, now I'm where I want to be. I've got, is it OAuth permissions, bot token scopes, find, select your app. I got it. OAuth and permissions, got it. Scroll down to scopes. Oh, yeah, perfect. Add an OAuth scope. What do I want to add? Chat right. You've changed scopes your app uses. Please reinstall your app for these changes to take effect. And if your app is listed in the marketplace, you need to. Okay, so now scheduled check complete. I'm just going to restart the server. I don't know if I need to re-invite. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's solid. I like that. Do, 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 do. And oh, look, there we go. Boom.
yeah,
I've created a ticket for this request. I mean, what are we? We're like sub 40 minutes, right?
yeah. Imagine
Yeah.
how long it would take for us to build this
That's like
without
fucking
AI.
2 weeks, 2 weeks of work. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, 2 weeks at my current pace, maybe a really good developer could do it in 2 days if they did nothing else, right? And then you have to think about what is the opportunity cost of doing nothing else for 2 or 3 days straight while you iron all this stuff out. Not to mention that historically, like navigating the APIs for Slack And GitHub is all by itself going to take some time. You got to do lookups, you got to read the documentation, you got to request keys, blah, blah, blah. But I love this. Okay, let's see if that, um, I'm gonna close some windows in my browser so you don't get to see any special credentials. And I'm going to bring the browser back up. And I'm going to bring Slack to the right. So let's just click this link. Perfect. It opens up what we want, blottity blottity. It didn't assign it to a project, which is something maybe we could address in a separate session, but otherwise I think it did what I wanted it to do. So um, how is everything is working? Everything worked. Thanks. How is the system persisting knowledge of previously created links? Yeah, it's storing created tickets in memory using @tickets, using process threads array in the main app file. However, this data is lost when the application restarts. So I'm not really certain it was lost when it restarted. It seemed to, maybe it went and checked. Maybe there was a little bit of, maybe it did like a lookup on Slack or something. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
And so for the user, right, like a user might not notice that. There's like a little bit of drift, like because we canceled the server, we restarted it multiple times and it still had good context on what we're talking about. And in fact, maybe let's refresh this. Yeah, like we restarted the system 2 or 3 times. You would not expect it to remember this. So it's doing something that's creating a little bit of persistence, but not a lot. And this is where like your vibe coder is going to get into trouble by not noticing a detail like that and believing that they have something working and not knowing that they need to go back and figure out, well, how is persistence actually working, right? And then that opens the whole conversation. Well, how the fuck do databases work? Why do you need a database to build a system? And cue the everyone needs to learn to code sort of kind of conversation. I'm not saying I believe that. Um, okay, so AIDER is saying let's add persistence to the system by storing this information in a simple JSON file. Here are the changes. It's basically going to write information to a local file. I don't know. And then it's going to do some changes to the ticket creator. It's going to look at the file and um, this and that, this and that. So I'm gonna say no on the shell commands. Make dir directory data. So we'll just do this by ourselves. Let's turn the server off. Make dir. So ls data should exist, right? There's nothing in it, which is what we would expect. Uh, I'm going to run the server again, and we would expect that the system now creates a local storage file inside of data, tickets.json, and it wrote our information. Again, I don't fully understand how I could be like restarting the server and it remembered that it needed to write this information into the JSON. That seems like magic to me, but I don't care because we're recording a demo. Um, Now, the only thing I'm going to say is, okay, that worked. Okay, that worked. Now, assume I, the technical PM, need to use this tool for one channel, and I intend to run the program once a day, and I want the program to check the last 48 hours of Slack messages. Also, if the Slack message is flagged as needing a ticket, and the thread on that message has a ticket posted by anyone, then we don't actually need to create the ticket. So again, it's very interesting, Lucas, as like I'm exploring pair programming. We tried to do this last week. It was very hard for me to focus my mind when we had 4 people in session, including one who is not an engineer. And even when we have group stand-ups without, where we have like a lot of non-engineers in session, it's like very hard for me to focus my mind. But like now when it's just you and me, like I can fully get into the flow with like actually building things and I don't feel scattered. So that
Yeah.
that phenomenon must be something of relevance that like we're not necessarily going to vibe code effectively with non-engineers because I think I have to enter some other psychological space to be effective at communicating with them about their needs and how we're doing things. Whereas where it's just you and me, I'm like very comfortable just being in like a developer flow.
Yeah, we are iterating here
Yeah,
non-stop.
iterating. If ticket, I'm just going to accept all this. I can see that it's making changes. Thread.new, scheduled to check to run every 15 minutes. So, oh, that's interesting. It will run every 15 minutes if I have it running in the background, and it will check for the last 48 hours, time.now. Check the last 40 hours instead of just 1 hour. Skip creating tickets if the thread already has a ticket posted by anyone. Here are the changes. Okay. Um, you can use undo to undo and discard each AIDER commit. I've never actually discarded a commit. That's quite git show. I do also very much like this style of green and red line by line. It's interesting that AIDER hasn't adopted this already because GitHub and Git have spent so much time figuring out what is readable.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's white space included, whatever. Anyways, so let's go ahead and let's give ourselves a test case. Oh, you see? Okay, that's exactly what we didn't want. So we actually have a good example of what I want to avoid, which was the system seeing the message over and over and over. And this would be a super annoying thing to code, right? Like once you establish that we want auto ticket to work, who actually wants to spend time being like, hey, stupid machines, in the case that we've already ticketed something, don't fucking ticket it, right? It's like, and that's the power of the LLM. It's not the agent. It's that you can begin to produce machine-centric work with sort of human-centric expression levels, right? Anyways, we obviously don't want this ticketed. So if I shut down the server and start it again, actually, let's all right, at Lucas, I'd like you, we need some better wiring for satcoms. See, here's a good example ticket, Lucas. Not can I have a raise. We need some better
Okay.
wiring from satcoms. Can you ticket that, please? Um, and oh, I didn't even include your name. And I don't think you have access to the repo. Anyways, I'm just going to create a quick ticket from me to me. Um, improve SATCOM wirings. And I'm going to create that. And I'm going to basically be like, no problem, Hansel. I got your back. No problem, Hansel. I got your back. In which case he's like, thanks, Derek. You know what I'm talking about? You get that one, Lucas?
No,
Maybe yes, no.
no problem.
That's a Zoolander reference. Anyhow, we have a ticket. I don't know if it's going to read the thread correctly, but that's an important part of the process. It's also very interesting how we're not really spending that much time analyzing the code. We're spending a lot of time analyzing how the code behaves,
Yeah.
which is very different in the past. Like in the past, you write something new, you're going to look at the code like 50 times. Now we're just like, forget it, run it, YOLO, let's see how it goes. Found 0 threads needing tickets. So that's kind of good.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you want me to send another one to check if it will create a ticket?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with this so far.
Yeah, it's looking good.
It's like it's hard to argue that this is not the future. Like you know, we basically just made an MVP in like 40 minutes. We are also relatively advanced developers. I'm gonna get water real quick. Okay, can you update the data date time on the web interface? Please create a ticket for this. Okay, that's solid. And I'm gonna stop and start the server again because it's queued for 15-minute intervals. And so, goddamn, look, it just worked. Create ticket number 7, posted. This is very good.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, and so now, I mean, hella fucking useful. Let's stop the server and we're going to start it one more time. And we would expect the server not to create any more tickets. Correct?
Correct.
Fingers crossed, because nothing bad could happen, right? That used to be true in software engineering. It's getting a lot less true as time goes by, as software touches a lot more critical infrastructure. So, what if this was code you were pushing to your Tesla and it, you know, that is awesome. That is insane. And we've been in session for about an hour and change. Um, that is really stellar. Let's what can I say? Can you estimate how much the API calls for this AI coding session just cost? Okay. So, I mean, does it tell me right there that it's a nickel a message and that we've got 30 cents on the session?
Yeah.
Duh. That's hilarious. So all it took was my 12 years experience and Lucas's 6 or 8 or however many, I don't know, plus dev boot camp. And did you go to university or did you go to like a coding boot camp or something, Lucas? I don't remember.
Yeah,
I should probably
I
know
went to
since,
university. It's
yeah,
about
look
nine
at that.
years of experience.
Yeah, 9 plus 12 is 21, I think, for all the grown-ups who can do arithmetic,
Yeah,
and 30 cents. So 21 years and 30 cents, right? Like I would call this incredibly high leveraged 10x kind of stuff. I don't know if
for
it's
sure.
interesting. Is it 10x engineering or is it 10x like business operationsing?
I think it can be both, right?
Yeah.
Because of the time you're saving, we
Yeah.
can do whatever
Like
we want.
I will introduce this to one of our stakeholder sessions next week, and I'm going to be like, hey, let's just run this on our Slack channel and see if there's any messages in the last 48 hours that I missed. YOLO, what could go wrong? All
I
right.
think it's
Uh, I think I'm good. I'm going to sign us out now, Lucas. Do you have
all
anything to
right.
add or to share?
It was great. It was a success. Thank you
Oh,
for having me.
I love, thank you. Thank you for being here. It's funny, like we spend a lot of time building for clients, but the part I like most about our job is distributed pair programming. I think it's the funnest, most interesting part about how we operate and what we do. So thank you
It
for
is.
being here with me on your 4:40 p.m. just outside Sao Paulo, my, excuse me, 2:40 p.m. at the Red Fridge Society in Austin, Texas. Have a nice day, everybody. Maybe we will post this code. I think we will absolutely post this code on GitHub, right?
Yeah. And
All right.
thank you, Ada.
Thank you, Aider. I mean, again, a free tool on the internet. I mean, wow, you know, uh, that is
Awesome.
nuts. All right. Peace.
Peace.
All right. I'm gonna stop the recording. I